Do you ever feel like Mondays get here way too fast? That frisson of anxiety mixed with regret when the alarm goes off. That's just awful. I've been there. And if so, today I've got you covered. I am sharing 10 tips on how to make the most of your weekend and wake up on Monday feeling ready to rumble. So let's go. The best way to make the most of your weekend is make a plan. Most of us have weekday routines, morning and night routines, and it's just as beneficial to have at least a loose plan for the weekend. Author James Clear of Atomic Habits suggests that to get the maximum return on our time invested, that we begin with the end in mind and reverse engineer a strategic plan. For me, the perfect weekend feels like a good balance between having fun, relaxing, and getting things done. So I start planning by asking myself, out of those three, which one is really most important to me this weekend? And I try to make that my priority. My next tip is make sure that you plan in some times for just relaxing, where you're not trying to accomplish anything. Each week brings its own level of stress, demands, and chaos that we need to bounce back from, right? For example, driving to work yesterday did not go as planned. Okay, so some days are more stressful than others. I had a flat tire start in on the highway this morning. Right at the same time, I came up on a traffic jam and I was 10 miles from an exit on the turnpike. Oh boy. But praise God, I managed to make the highway and to the tire store with 7 pounds of pressure left in my tire. And Pep Boys to the rescue. They're working on the car. And silver lining, there was a Walmart right next door. Do some shopping and burn off an hour and a half here. And I was able to bang out an errand, explore their huge clearance aisle where I found a fantastic cat carrier for 75% off, and also check out some of the new fall arrivals in the clothing department, all while I had to wait on my car. Then it's on to the office. So 2 new tires and $350 later, I finally made it to my office around 1:30, where I was already behind, and of course I had to work late. So be sure and ask yourself, what does my mind and soul really need to feel refreshed this weekend? Making at least a loose plan for the weekend can also help quiet that background anxiety and guilt that can come over us when we're in the middle of trying to relax and thoughts of chores start drifting in our head. You know, when you're planning to do it, you could just say cancel and get right back to relaxing. And tip number 3, have fun. You know that saying, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy? Well, all work and no play makes mommy's boring too. So avoid letting that happen by plugging fun into your weekend. Don't wait for the fun to find you. There are all kinds of ways to do fun. There are a couple of factors, though, that I think are worth mentioning. First, try doing something creative. I heard someone say the other day that they feel closer to God when they're doing creative things, and that really resonated with me. After all, He is our creator, and we see His artistry on the daily. They say being creative lights up special places in our brain. Somehow being creative is like a balm for my mind and my soul. Plus, we get to enjoy the fruits of our labors. The second point I want to make about having fun is try to get your heart rate up, preferably more than once. This could be something really simple like playing a game of frisbee or tag with your kids in the backyard. Or even better, do something that gives you an adrenaline rush, like riding a roller coaster or playing a competitive game of pickleball, maybe dancing the night away, or cheering your favorite team at the Super Bowl. Getting your adrenaline pumping is guaranteed to make you feel refreshed on Monday, and I highly recommend it. And the way I like to jumpstart planning my weekend is to make a list. Because I work from home on Fridays, I like to start on Thursday evening. I write down everything I want to accomplish over the weekend, whether I think I can get it all done or not. And that list comes with a bonus. Scientists say that making a list and crossing things off gives you a little squirt of dopamine every time you line through one of your to-dos. And I believe it. Which takes us to tip number 5, break that list down into categories. I like to break mine into 4 sections: to-dos, errands, meal prepping, and self-care. And yes, having fun is self-care, so that's where my fun and my relaxing goes. Now look at your list and kind of prioritize it. Needs, wants, shoulds, and put an asterisk by the needs. A lot of times we have appointments or events that we have to be at a certain time on the weekends. Let's say your child is in a ball game at noon on Saturday and you want to meet a friend for lunch at 1 on Sunday. I like to think of it as blocking times instead of like at 9 o'clock, I'm going to make blueberry muffins. I just try to, in general, write down in the morning or the afternoon or the evening when I want to try to get certain things done or relax or go to the beach or whatever it is. Just having a general feel for when it makes the most sense to run your errands or start meal prepping goes a long way to taking that background stress out of trying to make the most of your weekend. And speaking of planning and time, I was at Home Goods a few days ago and I've been wanting to get a planner to help me stay in line with my thoughts on where I want to go with my YouTube channel and all my to-dos involved with that. And it turned out that Home Goods has a large selection right now, at least in my area. And I was delighted to see that pretty much all of the planners started in July of 2024 and go through all of 2025. I guess it's because the school year is starting. And then a few minutes later, I was at Walmart, which is a block down the street, and going down the aisle, I happened to look over and see they had planners. So, I had to have a comparison. And theirs were all a couple, $3 more than the nice one that I picked up at Home. So back to the subject at hand, whether you're using a planner or you're just using a piece of paper. So that's what I call a loose schedule. And, that's really important for the weekend to feel enjoyable, in my opinion. No one wants to feel like they're having a regimented weekend. That's the opposite of fun. But we still have to get things done. And that takes us to tip number 8. To maximize my time, I like to group my errands all at once, preferably when I have to leave the house anyway. I like to go inspect a property or after meeting a friend for lunch. If you live in an area where several of the stops you have to make are close together, that's a double win. And when I leave to run my errands every weekend, I'm going to hit the bank, Sprouts, Aldi, Publix more often than not, the chlorine store. I've always got several stops to make. And doing that all at once, including gassing up my car for the coming week, well, not only does that save time, it saves money on gas, right? When it comes to getting chores done, I like James Clear advice on habit stacking. He recommends adding something that you enjoy to a mundane task that you have to do anyway. For example, I like to watch YouTube videos while I'm meal prepping or folding the laundry. It's not only more enjoyable, it also kind of scratches that urge to sit in front of the screen. You can even hit a triple play with that method by throwing in some deep conditioner in your hair. Y'all have seen me do that before. Maybe a facial mask, and your YouTube video running while you do that meal prepping or folding that laundry. Why not? Now that's what I call gaming the weekend. And to start the week off ahead of the game, I like to utilize meal planning and meal prepping. And again, this is something that you can do formally, informally. I put a video together on that several months ago. I'll put a card up here and a link for it down below. But the 2 key points that help me the most when it comes to meal planning or prepping: first, I'm going to say it, make a list. And I like to slip something on there that my family and I are excited about, or I only have to keep me happy. But make that list of meals you want to have, along with snacks. I like to do what I think of as the 3x3x3 method. That's kind of trending on TikTok and YouTube now in various ways. But when it comes to food, I like to do 3 proteins, three kinds of veggies, and then three sort of side dishes. For example, I'll do salmon on a sheet pan along with some Brussels sprouts. On another pan, I'll throw some marinated chicken breast and garden veggies for roasting in the oven, both pans at the same time. And then while that's in the oven, I'll throw a pan of rice on the stove, a pot of pasta, maybe boil a few eggs. Now all you need are some salad greens, maybe chop up a few fresh peppers and carrots. You'll have all sorts of meal combos ready to go all week long with less than an hour of time spent meal prepping. I also like to prep my supplements and my little BCAAs concoction on the weekends because that can take quite a chunk of time to do. That way I've got something healthy ready. Having those ready to go saves me at least 15 minutes every morning. Like James Clear says, the best way to instill good habits is to make them easy, obvious, attractive, and satisfying. Now for a bonus tip. I like to do what I call a weekend wrap up on Sunday evenings. The first thing I like to do is take a look at my calendar for the coming week and just see if I've got any appointments. And then I like to write down one business goal and one personal goal. And I'm not trying to sound like a guru or anything by any means, but just to keep myself focused. And then I like to put in a task somewhere in the week that will get me towards those goals. I also like to pick out a couple of outfits for the coming week. I work outside the home, so that really helps speed up the morning and smooth out that routine a lot. I just find that very helpful. And it just makes me feel that much more ready to rumble on Monday. And you may surprise yourself with the inspiration that can come from giving yourself the gift of having time to shop your closet and mix and match some things and maybe find things you haven't worn in quite a while. Give it a try. And last but not least, on my weekend wrap up, I like to prep that coffee maker. There's just something about waking up to the smell of coffee without having to make it first that just does my heart a lot of good right when that alarm goes off. And then just to get my mind in the right place for having a good night's sleep, I try to spend the last few minutes of the evening either reading an uplifting book or watching funny animal videos, whatever it is that calms my mind, takes me out of that get it done or, scary movie type mentality. I want that calming sense in my mind when I lay my head on the pillow for my 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Thank you all for stopping by today and sharing your time with me. I hope you enjoyed this video, maybe found a useful tip or two here. And if so, please hit that like button. And I will see you all on the next one.